Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by J Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And as always, so glad to have you along with me as we celebrate this history and tradition of the outdoor lifestyle here in the great state of Michigan and occasionally beyond. My name is Mike Avery. I've been doing this for a long, long time. I have no plans to quit doing this, to retire. You know, as I say all the time, my plans are not necessarily God's plans, and I will, of course, succumb to His will. But my will is to keep doing this because I do enjoy it. It's something I've done for a long time. And listen, I'm a Michigan guy. I grew up in this state. I've spent my career in this state. I don't see a reason to leave this state. You know, when it's this cold, does a southern getaway for a few days sound good? Of course it does. But I really have no plans to move to another state or become a snowbird or go down to Florida for 3 months a year. It's just not who I am. But man, it has been cold, hasn't it? I mean, when it's this cold, I have to admit, it does sound a little bit good maybe to head south for a few days. Snow and cold and making ice. It's a real good old-fashioned ice fishing season. Now, if you don't like that, all you could do is hang on and wait. But you will notice the days are indeed getting longer, right? We've got more daylight. So just, if you enjoy the snow and cold, have at it. Get out there and take advantage of it. If you don't, just take some solace in knowing that the days are getting longer, and eventually springtime will get here. Now, it's way, 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 way too early to start getting spring fever. I admit that. Myself, I haven't been outside much. A lot of office work this time of year, some new partners that are in the works. I'll talk about those in the next few weeks. Just a lot of office work, a lot of busy work that has to get done, kind of biding my time now until springtime turkey season, springtime fishing season, but that's a long ways off. There is good ice fishing, though. The inland lakes are pretty much all locked up by now. If you want to get out in the big water, and I'm thinking Saginaw Bay, which gets so much attention this time of year, if you are coming in from outside the area, and I said this last week as well, my advice is to tag along with somebody who's been out there, a local. Saginaw Bay can be very fickle. It can be unpredictable. I'm not saying it's dangerous if you know what you're doing. Like, for example, my son James did a scouting trip with a couple of guys just a few days ago. And one of them is a guy, Marty Saliga, the airborne angler, who I had on the radio show here last week. Another one, Mike Smith of Offshore Account Charters. Mike is a guy who I talk with all the time on the water in the summertime. But they wanted to get out there and do some exploring and chart a route, map a route to get out there safely and to get other people out there safely. So those 3 guys and a couple of other anglers, I mean, these are local guys who are very careful. They don't take chances. They got great gear. They got great knowledge, great experience. They went out, and James told me how far they went and how long it took them. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was a very tedious trip because every so often they would get off the sleds and walk out in front of them and check the ice with a spud. This is what I always recommend to people. The best way to check the ice is the good old-fashioned method of getting off your vehicle, off your sled, getting out and walking, and every few steps you just chunk the ice with a spud. And you can tell from the sound, from the ice you chip up with that spud, and if you're getting in too thin of ice, you're going to break through that ice with your spud. James said there were several times they actually got into areas with only 3 inches. Now, this has been a few days from the time, by the time you hear this show. There were several areas where they got into only 3 inches of ice. Now, if you're up near shore, fishing in 2 feet of water, walking out there, 3 inches of ice may well be enough. But when you're out there miles offshore on Saginaw Bay with sleds or quads and groups of people, you want more than 3 inches of ice. So I tell this story just as an example and just a reminder to be safe out there on the ice. And take your time. If you're from outside the area, come on over, enjoy our beautiful Saginaw Bay in the wintertime, but go with people, follow people out. I know, for example, Mike Smith of Offshore Account and many other charters, they will take people out, but also they will allow people with your own sleds who are just looking for a safe route out there. They will allow you for a fee to tag along with them. Now, you fish on your own, but you can tag along with them, and you're getting out there safely. So I would strongly and highly recommend a service like that. The NRC has a new director. Now, he may or may not have to jump through some political hoops before it comes official, but people in the know are telling me it's pretty much official. Our governor has appointed Dan Kildee to be the chairman of the NRC, the Natural Resources Commission. Dan Kildee is a 6-time congressman from Flint. He's a politician. I think pretty much a lifelong politician. So, I look at this a couple of different ways. At first blush, I was thinking, oh, geez, one politician appoints another politician to run an agency that should be free of politics. I guess another way of looking at it is, does Dan Kildee go in there to be a manager of the resource, or does he go in there to be a manager of people? I guess I would assume that after that long in Congress, he knows how to work the system and knows how to cooperate with people and knows how to work with people and knows how to use the system. So I'm hoping that that is indeed what this is all about. Because I got to be honest, I've told you this before, I don't have much faith in the NRC anymore, the Natural Resources Commission. And again, I other than Dan Kildee, just because I've seen him on TV, I wouldn't know any of these NRC commissioners if they walked up to me on the street and said hi. I don't know them as individuals. I just know their work as a body. And what I've seen lately has not impressed me very much. Oh, what else? Oh, tickets are now on sale for our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. That is Saturday, March 1st at the Great Hall in Midland. Hunting trips, fishing trips, guns, 50-50 raffle, a great meal, some great fellowship. This is our 8th annual Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. I'm going to give you a website, but it's kind of a cumbersome website. It is one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor Dinner Auction 2025. I know that's a lot to remember. one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor Dinner Auction 2025. Now, there is an easier way. We're trying to do all of our ticket sales online now. It makes the check-in process much easier. If you go to my Facebook page, I will continue to post the flyer every few days, so it goes to the top of my feed. I will continue to post the flyer that has all the information and the website and even a QR code that you can just scan that and go directly to that website. We will sell out We always do. Every year we sell out. So I expect we will sell out this year. It'll be another great event. I would love to see you there. What else? Oh, listen, I'm no expert on this, but I got to talk football for just a second, all right? First of all, thank you, Detroit Lions, for the season of a lifetime. It was hard to watch them lose. I was absolutely convinced that it was their destiny to go to the Super Bowl this year. And they sure made a run at it, didn't they? So thank you, Detroit Lions. You gave us all hope once again, and you guys busted your rear ends this year, and I appreciate it. Also now, but wasn't it salt in the wound to watch Ohio State win the national championship a few days later? I'm hoping, going back to the Lions, I think I have now a connection to Frank Ragnow, their center. He was a big outdoorsman, Grizzly Man Outdoors. I'm going to give Frank several weeks to get things slowed down and get back to normal life. I'm going to try to reach out to him and see if I can get him here on the radio show. Speaking of the radio show, coming up this week, my first guest after the break, Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives, then Paul Pirone of VersaSkins, Nick Buggia of the Michigan Wildlife Council. In hour number 2, Gabe VanWormer, Justin Tomei of MUCC, more on the new NRC commissioner, John Up from 41 Great Lakes, the guy who makes that new cartridge. And in hour number 3, we're ice fishing with Mark Martin, and we will wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show on more than 30 stations across the great state of Michigan, including WZTK in Alpena. That's 105.7 FM. Let's go to the Thumb, Sandusky, WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. And then we'll go north of the bridge. Let's go to Marquette, WDMJ, 1320 AM. If you have heard my show at all, at all, you've heard me mention or show off this sound right here. You want to hear it again? Okay, here's the sound. Now, you probably know what that sound is, but I'm going to tell you. It's the sound of the Rapid River knife, my Rapid River knife, coming out of my pocket and locking back. I say all the time that a good knife is one of the best tools an outdoor lover can have. I use it every day for a variety of purposes, and every once in a while I get real lucky and I get it bloody and dirty by field dressing an animal with it, and I have. Kris Duerson is the guy behind Rapid River Knives, a company that I really enjoy working with. And Rapid River, I got to tell you, these people are on fire with what they have done as far as new products, promotion, website, showroom, and now they've got something else in the works. A bear hunt giveaway in Idaho. So I thought it was a great time to get Kris back on the show and talk more about that, and more. Kris, welcome. How are you?
I'm great, Mike. How are you?
Well, as a troll down below the bridge as we're recording this show, I'm just trying to stay warm, but I understand it's even colder up there.
Yeah, yesterday morning it was 17 below zero in Rapid River at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, it's a little chilly.
Oh, but things are always warm there at the shop. I know you guys are recovering from your Christmas rush and trying to get back your inventory now.
Yeah, we from Black Friday to December 23rd, we had 2,600 online orders. So it wiped us out completely, but we've been making knives 7 days a week, and we're getting them the knives back on the shelves. So,
Kris, what do you attribute this really phenomenal growth that you've had here the last few years? Why is that?
I really think it has everything to do with we have such a loyal following of customers, and a lot of that comes from the quality of the product. People get it. If they get a hunting knife, they get it and they love it. and it stays sharp. So they say, I think I'll try one of their fillet knives, and it snowballs from there. And we warranty all of our stuff for life. So you don't have to be afraid to use it. You can use it. And if something happens, if we can't fix it, you get a new knife. So we stand behind our products 110%.
Yeah, use them. I mean, even your most special knives, I think you would shed a tear if you thought it just went up on the shelf and never got used.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we make everything to be used with the idea in mind that you can use it and get it dirty and all messy. And if you want us to make that knife look like brand new, you can simply mail it back to us, and we'll do it every time for free.
But there's something to be said, though, for picking up a knife and going, this thing has some history. This thing has some use. Maybe I don't want it to look showroom pretty.
Right. If you just want a quick edge put back on it, a easy sharpen job or something like that, factory edge, you can get that as well.
Kris, let's talk about this newest promotion. You talked about your customers. You actually want to reward your customers with something special. Tell us more.
Yeah. So, in the last 2 years, I've been going out to Idaho with a great outfitter. They're called Ace Outfitters out of Riggins, Idaho. They're way up in the Panhandle, and I've always wanted. I've gone for mountain lions. I've been fortunate enough to shoot 2 Boone and Crockett mountain lions in 2 years. So, but I've always wanted to do a color phase bear hunt. So when I started talking to them about it, I don't know why it just popped into my mind. I'm like, I want to take one of our customers with us, and I want to give somebody the bear hunt of a lifetime. So we're currently right in the middle of it. There's about 100 ways to enter. Actually, I think there's 13. You go to our website and click on our website. You'll see the banner at the top on how to enter. But we're actually taking one lucky winner to Riggins, Idaho, June 2nd through the 6th on a fully guided, fully outfitted, all-inclusive color phase black bear hunt. And the winner's going to get the hunt. They're going to get a $1,000 gift card from Jay Sporting Goods. And we've got a second place prize, and you're getting a $500 KUIU gift card. The hunt will be 100% filmed and edited. So the winner's going to get a hunt of a lifetime.
Wow. RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com. Go to RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com, and right there on the website there's a banner that says something about how to enter or click here to enter, right? It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, it pops right up, Idaho Bear Hunt Giveaway.
Now you say you say color phase. Tell me more about that. I mean, is that area known for color bears, or will you hold out for a trophy bear out there? How does this all work with the color phase?
So in Michigan, there really aren't many color phase black bears. They're primarily all black. There aren't really any blondes or cinnamons. Where we're going in Idaho, over 80% of the bears are blonde and cinnamon. On average, they only take 8 hunters a year total, and it's in the Seven Devils range of the Rocky Mountains. So you have to want to get there. Most of them have never seen a human, so you can see between 5 and 7 bears a night on average. So if you hold out, maybe you see a huge black bear that you want. It's just kind of up to the hunter. I've personally never taken a color phase black bear. I've taken a lot of other, regular black bears, but I'm gonna hold out for a color phase bear, and if I don't get one, I'll be perfectly fine with that.
Is this a spot and stalk or a bait hunt?
It's a bait hunt.
Is it a gun hunt or archery?
It's gun or archery.
Whatever, either one.
Either one, correct.
What about?
So we're going to be going.
Go ahead, Kris.
We're going to be going up into the Cabinet Mountain, or into the Rocky Mountains, and we're going to have it's a real nice base tent camp with a cook shack and all the great food, great meals. They just, these people are like my family now, and they treat us like it. They're just an amazing group of guides. They will work for you until the bitter end.
how rugged is it? And the reason I ask is if you've got a hunter who is a little bit older, he's still in pretty good shape, but look at it, he doesn't want to hike 3,000 feet vertically to get up there. I mean, what is this hunt like from a workout perspective?
So the terrain itself is very rugged. A lot of people have been to the mountains. They've seen the mountains, but unless they've seen the Seven Devils Range of the Rockies, they've never seen the real mountains. With that being said, it's an amazing experience to see it. Again, we're going to work with whoever wins, and we're going to make sure that doesn't happen. You know, that they can't make it to the blind. I mean, basically each outfitter every day is going to take somebody to a bear blind and make sure that they're there and safe, and sit with them if they'd like to have somebody sitting with them, probably filming them. If they don't want to be filmed, they don't have to be, but we're taking a full film crew out there with us to video it. There's going to be about 6 of us hunting bears. So, yeah, I mean, it's rugged, it's amazing, it's beautiful, and we're going to whoever wins it, we're going to make sure that they get to have a good experience.
You said something interesting that I'm glad to hear, that, you know, if on an adventure like this, if somebody had never done this before and they say, man, I want to do this, but the thought of being, I'll use this term stuck, but I don't mean this in a negative way. I don't want to be stuck in a bear blind up in the Rockies by myself because I've never done this before. It might make them a little bit nervous, and I understand that. If that's the case, you would have a guide sit with them, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime anybody goes out there, they can get a fully guided hunt. We're just going to actually have somebody filming it inside the blind as well. So yeah, you're going to get a very professional guide. These guys do this for a living, and they know that territory like the back of their hand. So it's going to be a hunt of a lifetime. And in fact, the fact they only take 8 people a year total. In the last 11 years, they've had 100% success rate. Their first 4 hunters last year all shot color-phased bears on day number 1.
What size are their bears out there, Kris?
They're a little bit bigger than Michigan. The Michigan's typical black bear shot is actually 137.5 pounds. Not very big. Last year on the first day of the hunt, there were over 3 of the 4 bears were over 300 pounds. And if you can wait and hold out the 5 days, you have a very good chance at shooting a 400 to 500 pound bear.
So what is the deadline for applying for this? How long do we have?
So you have until April 15th at 25. We wanted to give people at least 6-7 weeks to get ready for it. Once the person we're going to draw the winner on April 15th at noon, and go to work on buying that person plane tickets and travel and everything else. We're gonna fly them out to Riggins, to Boise, Idaho, and we're gonna rent a big SUV and a couple of them actually, and we're all gonna drive up into Riggins, and then from Riggins we're gonna go into base camp. So we're gonna take care of all of that. We're gonna make sure they get their plane ticket and everything.
So go to rapidriverknifeworks.com, click on the banner on the front that says the Idaho Bear Hunt, and you could be entered to win. Can you enter more than once, or is it a one-time only?
Yeah, there are several ways to enter. They're all laid out right on there, on that link on the website. So I think there's 13 different ways that you can get into the hunt.
All right, Kris, I appreciate that. It sounds like a wonderful hunt, as you say, the hunt of a lifetime. I'm sure it will be. rapidriverknifeworks.com. Thank you, Kris Duerson, for just making a great product, and thank you for opening up this opportunity for one of your customers.
Thank you, Mike.
Kris Duerson of Rapid River Knives. Again, the website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, rapidriverknifeworks.com. It is a new website. It is a beautiful website. If a website can be such a thing, it is beautiful. Check it out. Click on the banner. Click on the link to enter to win an Idaho color phase bear hunt. How cool is that? We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, I want to talk with another Michigan-based company. It's Paul Pirone, company owner, Paul Pirone of VersaSkins, then Nick Buggia of the Michigan Wildlife Council. hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Iron Mountain, WMIQ 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. Linwood Beach can be your year-round Saginaw Bay fishing destination, and this year, it looks like it's your destination for Saginaw Bay ice fishing. I always say, if you're going to say head out there on the ice, be careful. And I'm not talking to the local guys. I'm talking to the folks coming in from out of town. Follow some of the local guys out. Find a guide who will let you ride out with him. You know, enjoy his services, have a guided trip, or just tag along with him. Whatever works for you, whatever works for them. Linwood Beach Marina is I can't say enough about these guys. Beautiful location, great people, great service, great facilities. And as we get through the ice, and a great place to have access to Saginaw Bay. Right now, the boat launches are iced in, but you can still access the bay via their boat launches. When the ice goes away, it's a great place for springtime fishing as well. The website, linwoodbeachmarina.com. That's linwoodbeachmarina.com. While you are online, I would encourage you to check out my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Then go over to VersaSkins.com or go over to Amazon and do a search for VersaSkins brand. VersaSkins, you've heard this before. I talk about it all the time. VersaSkins, just change your skin for the season you're in. It is a Michigan-based, family-owned company, and you know I love that. Paul Pirone is the guy behind VersaSkins with me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Paul, welcome back.
Thanks, Mike. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Remind me, how did you come up with this concept? It seems so simple, but it's one of those things where, why didn't I think of that before? How did you come up with this concept of snapping on and zipping on a shell, an outer shell of a different camo pattern? Where did that come from?
I wanted to have some product that I could goose hunt in the snow, in the open cornfields. And there was nothing out there except these blousy big ponchos that had no pockets, and it just really wasn't good for the hunter. So it just simply came up with the idea of it'd be nice to have something that fit like a glove where you could access all the pockets and all your calls, everything on your base product. So we just started working on it. It took us about a year to develop it all, working with the local lady out of Davison. She was a wedding gown maker, and she helped us with all of our early prototypes. So that's kind of where it came from, because there was nothing on the market that really would do the job.
And these days, I look at what you're offering, jackets specifically for saddle hunters. I love the fact that you have sizes for the big folks, 4, 5, 6X. Nobody carries those sizes, but there's a real demand for that, and you guys stepped in and filled that. So congrats.
Thank you. Yes, we can't keep the 4, 5, and 6s in stock. So we just got a new shipment over the holidays. So if anybody is looking for 4, 5, or 6, please let us know. We can take care of you.
With these frigid, cold temperatures, I want a jacket that's as warm as I can possibly get. I walked outside the other day in just my basically heavy winter day-to-day coat, and I thought, man, I wish I had my VersaSkins on, because that's the warmest coat that I have. And I was also thinking, right now my VersaSkins is still wrapped in my Blaze orange shell. But if I was a predator hunter, I could make that transition easy to a snow camo.
That's correct. Yep, we came up with the snow camo, obviously, as our number one skin. And the guys are now going to zipping on the all-white camo. And white camo is really hard to find these days, even at the big box stores. So you simply zip that on, and you are ready to go. Whether it's late season goose, or if it's late season, or right now we're in the middle of the season for coyote hunting. And then also, Mike, you mentioned your Blaze vest that you have. We're getting guys that are rabbit hunting now, and they're sending us in pictures. And they're hunting the bunnies, right? And they're wearing the Blaze vest over top of the VersaSkins jacket.
Yeah, good point. Good point. The gear that you have is all designed for pretty cold weather, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's designed for what we call the block, right? So you got Kentucky up through Canada, Appalachians to the Rockies. Anything the Midwest throws at you, you can wear it, in negative numbers. I've done that. I've killed deer in 2 feet of snow and -4 degrees. So it all depends on how you layer and where you're hunting. Now, if you're going to go, on a northern expedition, then you're going to need something a little bit more. And if you're hunting, in Texas or whatever, we have guys that wear the product in Texas, but you got to just kind of figure out where you're going to be hunting. But it's got 120 grams of insulation with all the different wind and rain properties, and it really does the job.
Well, some exciting things coming up for VersaSkins. We'll talk about that more in the future, but in the meantime, I'll send people to the website versaskins.com or go to amazon.com and do a search for VersaSkins brand. Paul Pirone, thanks for coming up with a good product, and thanks for joining me with a reminder that you guys are out there.
Thanks, Mike. God bless. Take care.
All right, Paul Pirone, the guy behind VersaSkins. I love the fact that Michigan has so many great outdoor-based companies. I don't know why that is. Well, I have some suspicions. Because our state is so outdoor-oriented, there are so many people who love the outdoors, they find themselves in situations where they want to come up with products. Nobody makes it, so they jump in. That's what Paul Pirone did. That's what so many people here in our state have done over the years, and that's why I think our state is a hotbed for outdoor-related companies. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this opening hour with Nick Buggia of the Michigan Wildlife Council, and they're Here for Generations campaign. Speaking about, a love for the outdoors, well, the Michigan Wildlife Council is trying to protect that love for the outdoors. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK, that's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ, 1090 AM, and north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY, 1450 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots. Now, look, I know you're not putting in food plots right now, and you're probably not even hunting over food plots right now, but as you look down the road, it's not too early to start planning your food plot planting season. And I believe Michigan-based family-owned Killer Food Plots can help you out tremendously. Rich Krasananelli, his wife, will be at the various shows around the state this winter, so you can have a chance to talk to them in person. If you don't, go to the website, killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. See what they have to offer. See how they can help you better enjoy your next hunting season. killerfoodplots.com. The folks at the Michigan Wildlife Council are dedicated to doing everything they can to ensure that we all have a good hunting season for this year and beyond. Their Here for Generations campaign has done a wonderful job the past few years protecting our hunting and fishing heritage. Nick Buggia is the chairman of the Wildlife Council, and he joins me now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Nick, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Mike, for having me on.
Always a pleasure, my friend. You're an interesting guy because you've got your fingers in so many things.
I try to keep busy.
well, that's an understatement. I mean, you're a Michigan guy. You love to hunt.
Yep.
I think you fish as well. I mean, you are the person that the Michigan Wildlife Council is designed to help.
Yeah, and we finally, the weather's kind of cooperating this year. We have some ice. So
yeah,
that's been a bonus.
Yeah, and you're a hardcore bird hunter too.
Yeah. It's been a little cold to get the dogs out, but we run them when we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have a good fall though, Nick?
Yeah, no, a great fall. Took a couple does in the late doe season. We added and had a good bird season, and looking forward to when it warms up a little bit. Going to go out and try to get some rabbits. So.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Nick, what's the latest from the Michigan Wildlife Council? What's going on there?
Yeah, I know. You've talked with the council, but I don't think we've talked since November.
No.
And there's been there's been some updates. We've got some new vendors, and I think next year we'll kind of be heading in a little bit different direction. We did a study to kind of better understand, how we can communicate effectively with the general public, with the non-hunting and fishing public. And, I think there were some positive results that came back from that. So I think that, moving forward, the images and the messages are going to be more direct. You're going to be seeing images of people, hunting and fishing and holding firearms and buying licenses. And so the message is going to be a little bit more direct, which is something we've been working towards for a long time. And, there's been some positive news. As a whole, we see declining numbers across the country and hunters specifically. But, we also see a drop in understanding of, that hunting and fishing are management tools, that it's necessary for conservation. And, the only two states that have a wildlife council are Colorado and Colorado and Michigan. And those two have kind of remained above average. And it was not that we want to take credit for all of that, but I think after the ballot initiative Colorado had a couple years ago to reintroduce wolves, their council really kind of looked and said, hey, what can we do to make sure we're getting this message out? And it wasn't all due to that council, but I think that it really, they helped educate the public that hunting is a management tool. This is how we manage and manage wildlife and fund conservation. And so when they had the ban on hunting mountain lions on the ballot, we were all kind of a little concerned on how that was going to go. But they really, kind of targeted their messaging and tried to just, without advocating, our role isn't to advocate or take positions politically, but it's just, hey, here's the facts. Here's how, we manage wildlife. And how we make sure things are sustainable and all wildlife are around for generations. And so it was nice to see that success. And I think that in Colorado, and I think that we are here in Michigan trying to, we're lucky that we don't have that culture of ballot initiatives, but, we're trying to say, hey, how can we ensure that we're doing the best job we can with hunters and fishing dollars to protect that moving forward.
And I think
go ahead.
I got to let you go, Nick, but you say you don't think you can take too much credit for that. I think the Michigan Wildlife Council can take a lot of the credit for that with the Here for Generations campaign. And I appreciate the fact that even though you're targeting the non-hunters and anglers, that you jump on with me every so often to get the message out to the people who are actually paying for this campaign. Nick Buggia, the Michigan Wildlife Council, Here for Generations, here for MIOutdoors.org. You guys keep up the good work, and we'll talk again. We'll take a break. When we come back, Gabe VanWormer, Justin Tomei, and John Up here on Outdoor Magazine's Hour 2.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by J Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Yes, indeed. This is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction. And welcome to hour number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, right here on the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And you know this by now. I really believe the best way to listen to the show, if you can, is on your local radio station, your local AM or FM radio station. I call them my Outdoor Magazine affiliate. The reason I say that is because, first of all, the radio stations get the content of the show before the podcast version is uploaded. So you got that going for you. Also, if you listen to your local radio station, you've got your local people, your local voices, your local names you're familiar with, in addition to Mike Avery. You got your local news and weather and sports, and, look at local commercials. Maybe there's a special, maybe there's a sale you want to take advantage of that you just won't get on the podcast. But isn't it nice to know that if you can't listen to the radio show, if your local station doesn't carry the show, all 3 hours of the show, or if, God forbid, you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal, and there's really only one part of our state, it's nice to know that there is a podcast version of the show that is available. Now, the content is exactly the same. You just listen to it online or via your phone rather than through your radio station. You can hear the podcast of the Outdoor Magazine radio show on my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I put it on the Facebook page. I put it on YouTube. And all of the other podcast outlets that are out there. And I'm talking about Amazon Music. I'm talking about iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Spotify, that whole gamut there. And I do like podcasting, and podcasting is huge these days, right? When you look at what some people are doing with these podcasts, it's very impressive. I also do podcasts for some of my advertising partners, and today, when we're done recording this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, we will record this month's Angler Quest Pontoon podcast. Exciting things going on at Angler Quest, QUEST. Mr. Angler Quest Brad Dupuis has come out with a new lineup for 2025, and I will be talking with Captain Jason Graham of the Linwood Beach Marina, who has an intimate knowledge of those boats because he's sold them and worked on them for so many years. So we'll talk with him about ice fishing on Saginaw Bay, and then looking forward to the springtime, his thoughts on the new lineup of Angler Quest boats. You can hear that at anglerquestpontoons.com. I will put that also on my Facebook page. Regardless of where you are hearing my voice, how you are hearing my voice, when you are hearing my voice, I really do appreciate that, and I thank you so very much. It has been a blessing to be able to do this for so many years, to do something that I love. It is a cliche. If you find something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. All days in my job are not rainbows and unicorns, but I really do like what I'm doing. And when I look across this outdoor industry here in Michigan, which is so big, and I look at the different people who are in positions to influence folks, I think they enjoy their job as well. Gabe VanWormer is one of those people. Gabe has been on the outdoor scene here in Michigan for a long time. Used to be mainly behind the scenes, working for Michigan Outdoors, working for Fishing 411 TV. But Gabe is also a very, very good on-air person. And if you follow him on his YouTube channel, Full Quiver Outdoors, you'll see what I mean. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line to talk a little bit more about things. Gabe, welcome back. How are you?
Oh, it's wonderful to be back. I'm looking forward to those nice sunny days on a pontoon boat trolling the bay, huh? On a cold one this morning.
Well, I have to admit, that's where my mind has been going the last few days.
It seems so far off right now.
And not being an ice fisherman, and, I used to, but I just don't ice fish anymore, it does make for kind of a long winter season. What do you do this time of year, Gabe?
I do ice fish once in a while, but walleye is my thing. I mean, if I'm going to ice fish, I want to get out on the bay. I want to get down every once in a great while, every 10 years, down on Lake Erie maybe. But, I just want to go after the big fish, I guess. And so the last few winters, we just haven't had that. So it's been nice seeing this cold front and really starting to get the itch to go back out on the bay.
Well, there are guys out there, and the ice looks like it's going to get nothing but better, so I would encourage you to certainly do that.
Absolutely. And in the meantime, just doing some reloading in the basement and getting ready for upcoming spring when I get to shoot again and all the stuff that along with that.
Gabe, I would consider you a shooting and ballistics expert. When I look at your posts, when I look at your video, you've got this dialed in. And I saw a recent post that really got my attention because at first I thought you had, on the bench there, I thought you had some kind of a hybrid carbine or something because it looked really short. And then I read the text and it's like, no, this is a long range handgun. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I just recently, I've gotten into long range shooting a little bit more. I've never been a great shot. Like a lot of Michigan guys, we just don't shoot very far. So with crop damage shooting and some stuff like that, I really started to reach out with rifles. And I have a buddy it's been into long range pistols for many years, and he's always asked me to go out to a competition out in Wyoming. And just recently, I just decided to take that plunge, like I needed another hobby. And I picked up it's a bolt action handgun in 6.5 Creedmoor. So, I mean, it's a regular bottleneck rifled cartridge that's in a bolt action handgun frame. And so this thing supposedly is able to reach out there beyond 1,000 yards in the right hands. And hopefully I can train my hands to do that at some point this summer because I'm going to a competition in June. So it should be fun learning this.
1,000 yards with a handgun? That's crazy.
These competitions, yeah, they go out to 1,400 yards. You got to be kind of ready to go anywhere in between, 200, 250, all the way out to, 1,300, 1,400 yards, which is insane to me.
Me too. Now, the picture I saw in the video, I think you had this thing locked into a rest. What will the competition be like? You don't have to freehand that at 1,000 yards, do you?
Yeah. So there's two different competitions. The first competition has 4 divisions. It has it's called the Handgun Hunters Competition, and it's in Wyoming. And the first one is rimfire, revolver, iron sights, revolver with optics, and then this new rifle that I've got, the single shot rifle. In that one, you have a weight restriction, so you have to shoot off a bipod or something that you're holding by hand. It can't be a tripod. And that competition is probably out to 450, 500 yards. So that's a little bit shorter. And then in the second competition later, it's that one able to get lay on the ground. I've got a bipod on the gun itself that I lay it in, and then you have rests that you can support the gun with, and absolutely try to get as steady as you can on the ground or wherever they put you in these stages.
Wow.
But no, not freehand.
Why the Creedmoor?
I would have. There might have been another couple cartridges that I would have picked, but these guns are very, very hard to find. Back in the day, I think it's about the 60s, Remington made the XP100, and that was around until probably the early 90s or so. And there weren't a whole lot of them made. It's a very niche market, and then Nosler made one for a few years. So there's very few of these guns out there, and I happened to at a gun shop down south, and it happened to be in 6.5, which can do the job. But that's really, it was a matter of finding one, and luckily I found one that can do it. Instead of buying one that's in something weird and then rebarreling it.
If I owned a gun shop and I saw Gabe VanWormer walking in the door, it would put a smile on my face.
Yeah, unlike my wife. Yes. You never know what you're going to buy.
I never know what I'm going to see you shooting.
Well, if I did, you'd be the first to know. So.
Hey, just a little FYI here. Your phone every few seconds, we're getting a little bit of a weirdness. I don't know if it's where you're positioned, wherever you are. Maybe we can move just a little bit and help us out here. But I'm going to go back to I never know what I'm going to see you shooting. And I say that in reference to your fall deer hunting passion when I see you out there with a recurve, and then you compare that to this high-tech long-range handgun shooting. I mean, Gabe, you cover the entire gamut.
It's kind of the same thing where handgun hunting is very, very difficult. It's very challenging, and I think that kind of is why I enjoy it. It's kind of like that bow hunting thing where you're not just holding a rifle and shooting a scoped rifle. It is much more difficult. So, that challenge to me is what drives me.
Hang tight, Gabe.
So that's
Listen,
what it is.
I appreciate that. We're talking with Gabe VanWormer. You can check him out online on YouTube, especially Full Quiver Outdoors on YouTube, Full Quiver Outdoors. You've seen his work on Michigan Outdoors TV. You've seen his work on Fishing 411. Check out his work on YouTube on Full Quiver Outdoors. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, more with Gabe VanWormer. Then Justin Tomei of MUCC with his thoughts on the new NRC director. And we'll wrap it all up with a friend of Gabe VanWormer's, John Upp, the guy who came up with the 41 Great Lakes cartridge. Maybe more on that after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Caro on two stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. You can hear us in Sheboygan, on Big Country Gold, WCBY 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. Let's go north of the bridge. Let's go to Escanaba. You can hear us on WCHT 600 AM, 93.5 FM. Speaking of north of the bridge, this segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by the company that makes this sound. Right? You know what that is. I had Kris Duerson of Rapid River on the first hour of the show. Kris is the guy behind Rapid River Knife Works. A knife is a very, very valuable tool. I would encourage you to check out Rapid River Knives, handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, guaranteed for life. The latest thing they're involved in, aside from trying to restock the showroom after the Christmas rush, is an Idaho bear hunt. If you go to that website, rapidriverknifeworks.com, and click on the banner there to enter the Idaho bear hunt giveaway, you could win, somebody will win, a bear hunt in Idaho, fully taken care of, all paid for, in early June, targeting a color phase bear. Now, I say phase, right? When I say phase, please realize that bears don't change their color. A bear doesn't go from black to blonde to cinnamon. No. Whatever they are is what they are, but that's what we call them, phase. I know it's a misnomer, but that's what we call them. Anyway, I get off track. RapidRiverKnifeWorks.com is the website. Check out their product, a great product with great people standing behind it. Speaking of great people, my guest right now is a guy I have much respect for. His name is Gabe VanWormer. And Gabe, you've been around the outdoor scene here in Michigan for so long now, and much of that has been behind the scenes, right? People know your videography work well before they maybe knew who you were.
Yeah, and I don't mind keeping it that way. I like being behind the camera. You were talking about a color phase bear. I videotaped a chocolate color phase bear get taken by Tom Nelson with American Archer out in Wyoming one year. One of the prettiest bears I've ever seen.
I have only seen one color bear, and that was in Ontario. And man, I wanted that thing. I didn't get him, but I really wanted him because they're magnificent. They're really beautiful.
They're incredible and so rare. I saw one up in the Keweenaw one time, like a cinnamon colored one. And unfortunately, it was way too small to shoot, but I was thinking, man, if I could get a tag in a couple of years, it wouldn't be so bad. But man, they are gorgeous.
Now, I didn't realize that you had done work for the American Archer, too.
Yeah, just about everything out there. I've worked. Yep, I do a little bit for the Warden's TV show as well. Every once in a while, they'll get a call and they need somebody, and it's kind of a hired gun for everything. So
I didn't know that.
That's pretty unique, riding around with the COs.
So how does this work? Somehow your name is out there in the world of outdoor video, and when somebody's looking for a shooter, we call it a shooter, they just call you up and say, hey, are you available?
Yeah, it's like radio hosts or something are getting my name out there somehow. And no, this is, the Wolf Creek Productions is right in Perry, which is my hometown. So it just so happens those guys know me real well. And so, yeah, over the years, I've gotten calls from them, and obviously worked for Michigan Outdoors and Mark Romanak's Fishing 411. And, a little bit of everything. I've done a lot of different pilots of shows that didn't succeed, and it's been a lot of fun. The variety is what keeps it interesting.
You are the main shooter for Fishing 411, aren't you?
Yep. Just finishing up the edits right now, and getting ready to probably fly to Florida to shoot a crappie show here in maybe next week sometime, if that cold front down in Florida lets up.
So you not only shoot the shows, you also edit them?
Shoot, edit, yep, all that stuff. Yeah, kind of I am not the host, which I'm thankful for. Mark and Jake do a fantastic job of that, and I just stay behind the camera and do all that stuff. It's interesting to see that evolution, because I've told this story before, but Mark and I were partners on the first version of that show, and I could see, look, I'm just getting in the way, so I got out of the way. But I actually edited a few of those early shows. Boy, they looked bad when I look back on them. But when I look and see what you're doing now with drone video and underwater video, man, it's fascinating. I think that's the fun part of being a videographer, is getting all those cool shots like that. It's just, there's so much to a show to get, all these different cutaways and underwater, and like you're saying, drone stuff. It's all very, very much different than when we got started. I started in 99 carrying probably a 15-pound camera, beta cam over the shoulder. That's why my right arm is longer than my left arm.
Yeah.
And, non-linear editing, where you're literally going from tape to tape editing it. And now we're on computers, and some of the stuff we get is on cell phones. It's just, things have gotten so much easier, but yet so much more artistic because of that. And it's been fun seeing the progression over the years. We could never put a camera underwater back in the day unless you got like an aquarium or something. So,
and I did that. And it was pretty cool. But when I look at this iPhone that I'm now holding in my hand, and I think this thing shoots better quality video than what we used to put on broadcast news when I was working in that part of the world, using a big old 3/4-inch U-matic, and all that. It was, it's amazing, but the story is still key, right? I don't care how you get it. It's easier than ever to get the images, but you got to have a story.
Anybody can walk around and get stuff on camera. It takes a special person to get a story, and that's, and sometimes it's tough. If you just go out there and the first day you shoot a deer, and then you're going, well, what's my story? Billy Bob goes hunting, so you got to do something with it. And that's the key to being a good videographer, is being a good editor and figuring out what the angle is and all the fun stuff. So that's, like I said, that's what makes it interesting, is doing something different every day.
So when you're in the field, do you have a story in mind, or do you just go out there and shoot as much as you possibly can and then figure it all out later?
Absolutely. You have something in mind that you're looking to do. That doesn't always work. So you a lot of times have to pivot, partway through. You're not catching fish on a certain thing. You have to pivot and go to something different, and then make that work, and then somehow tie it in with what you did earlier. So it can be really tough and challenging to do that sort of thing. But again, that's what your job is as a videographer, is to be a field producer as well. And I don't think a lot of people understand that there's a lot more involved with it. That's for sure.
And as an outdoor videographer, you're at the mercy of Mother Nature, the weather, the critters. You can't control. I don't. Even the Romanaks, and they're both expert, outstanding anglers. They can't make fish bite. Well, maybe they can, but some days are better than others.
We have a very good success rate because of those two. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But there's days that just, I can think of a day last year that they were coho fishing down by Michigan City, Indiana, and it was just on fire. They caught, over 100 fish. Called me up, said, get down here, and there was a north wind that night, blew in a bunch of cold water, and the next day we caught like 2 fish. The fish were literally gone, just gone, and that's the way it goes, and that's why you always hear the saying, should have been here yesterday. And it seems like the camera always screws it up.
Always. Absolutely always. But I think about what you're doing too, like just the 411 show. You might be out on an inland lake in northern Michigan tomorrow with a wind chill of 20 below. And as you say, next week in Florida, shooting a crappie show. It is a pretty cool way to make a living, and you've carved out a wonderful niche.
It sure is. It's a lot of fun. I mean, we're talking about doing some bear den checks here too coming up, and I think it's March or something, and stuff like that. I mean, just things that the average Joe does not get to do, and us being able to bring that to people and show people what goes on behind the scenes is really, really fun to me.
I have been on, and it's been a few years now, I've been on those bear den checks with the DNR, and to watch those guys or gal crawl into a bear den and stick their head in there to tranquilize an animal, that's a pretty gutsy thing. Now, who would you be shooting that for? The wardens?
Yeah, probably. Yep. But and like what you're saying, it's kind of the opposite of what you'd think they'd stick their tranquilizer and then tranquilize it, then crawl in. But
nope.
It's kind of backwards. Yeah.
When you look back on all the shoots you've been involved in, can you say, boy, this was the coolest or most unique or funnest, most fun?
It's so difficult. I mean, there's been so many cool things. It kind of is, something by season, I guess you'd have to say. I'd have to break it down to that. But I mean, I remember one time being 17 miles out in the middle of Keweenaw Bay, doing a show with some Finns, catching lake trout with their little bobbin sticks, and a wolf ran across in the, as the sun was coming up. And I mean, you just can't duplicate that. I mean, it's just something going out to Isle Royal and fishing out there, being up in the mountains, hunting elk, and videotaping up there. I mean, just, there's so many cool things that we've done over the years, 25 years of this. So, I don't know that I could pick a few, but it's hard to pick one, that's for sure.
25 years, man, you must be old.
I sure feel it.
Especially from carrying that old camera around, right?
Exactly.
Gabe, it is always a pleasure. Now, I mentioned your YouTube channel, Full Quiver Outdoors on YouTube, but you've got other social sites out there too, right?
Yeah. Yep. That's the primary one. I do that. I kind of did that for fun to begin with, and I've tried to grow it a little bit over the last few years, and it's gone very, very, it went very, very well. And the main focus of that more is the bow hunting. I love to do a lot of bow hunting, especially with a stick and string. But the new thing that's going to be this year is going to be that, handgun competition stuff. So hopefully people will find that interesting.
Well, I'm sure they will, because you will put it together in a manner that is interesting, I'm sure of that. Gabe VanWormer, always a pleasure. And you're on my list of people to call every once in a while, so you'll hear from me again, buddy.
Well, great to hear from you this time. Appreciate it, Mike.
Thank you, Gabe. Gabe VanWormer, you can see him online on his YouTube channel, Full Quiver Outdoors. That's Full Quiver Outdoors. He has some very interesting video. He's also on Instagram as well. I've seen him there. Guy who's been around the outdoor scene a long time. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, Justin Tomei of MUCC. I want to get his thoughts on this new NRC director, Dan Kildee, lifelong politician who has been appointed by the governor. That and more coming up in hour 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister 92.1 WTWS. And you can hear us, let's go to the Sioux, WKNW 1400 AM. When I have a question about what's going on in Lansing or beyond, but primarily Lansing, about outdoor-related activities, questions, proposals, ballots, votes, whatever, my first call or text is to MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Clubs. I'm a member of MUCC. I support MUCC, and I respect what MUCC is doing. Do I agree with everything they do? Of course not. But I support MUCC's overall mission and the people there, including Justin Tomei, who is a guy who has the ability to take a look at these complex political situations or questions and simplify them. Justin, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Doing well, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great. So my question for you this week is, me as a non-pundit, I look at the governor's appointment of a 6-time Flint area congressman, Dan Kildee, to head the NRC, and I see one politician appointing another politician, and my first reaction is, well, I don't like this. I'm sure there's more to it, though.
I mean, I assume there is. From what I know about, well, Congressman, now Commissioner Kildee, is he is an angler, like in his personal life, so I feel like that probably weighed into it a little bit. We've expressed similar concerns, not just about Commissioner Kildee, but when Leslie Love was appointed to the commission a few years ago, we kind of raised the same concern of we don't want the commission to become a parking lot for, termed out legislators or other politically elected officials. And so there is a little bit of cause for concern there. As far as how Congressman Kildee is actually going to do in the commission, we don't know yet because we don't know him in that capacity. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out for sure.
Well, it is going to be interesting. And when I was doing my Behind the Mic live stream here in the studio before I hit the air, we were talking about this, and somebody said, look, if he comes in as a guy who is not trying to be a wildlife expert, but rather a guy who is a good manager and knows how to work with people and get things done, if he will listen to the experts and use his skills to get things done, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, that's kind of the perfect way to look at it. Sure, he's been in Congress for 6 terms. You can look at what he did there, but this is a completely different game, a completely different set of players. I would remind everybody that a number of years ago, they all were probably freaking out that Leslie Love from Detroit was, going to suddenly have power over our game management decisions. And from MUCC's perspective, Leslie Love had a perfect voting record. So it's not necessarily indicative of the type of commissioner he's going to be. We're trying to get some time with him. We haven't been able to connect as of yet, but we do that with all commissioners. So, yeah, it's Senator Dana Polhanke asked me a question in a legislative committee 2 years ago, and she's like, "I'm sorry, I don't know the answer." Was very apologetic for what was probably a basic question within our world. And my response to her was, "There's no such thing as a bad question that's asked in good faith." So, I assume he's going to come in with that attitude. And we'll find out in a few weeks. I think he's going to be at the next meeting in the chair seat. So
is this a done deal? When the governor appoints a director, is that the end of it, or is there some kind of an approval process?
So technically the appointment is subject to the advice and the consent of the Senate. So there could be a hearing, and they could go in and question him and find out about his bona fides and what he wants to accomplish and why he thinks he'd be a good commissioner. Since the Democrats, and even before the Democrats took over the Senate, there haven't been hearings. I think the last hearings, if memory serves correctly, was for Tom Baird and Dave Kozad, more than 3 years ago at this point. So it's unlikely that the Senate would hold a hearing on Commissioner Kildee. If they don't hold a hearing within 60 days, his appointment's considered accepted, and he gets to continue. He gets to continue to serve. He gets to serve during 60 days anyways.
So this next meeting coming up in February, would you expect, if he's there, will he act as the chair of that meeting?
Yep, he would. He was appointed as the chair. I'm assuming they'll have all their paperwork in order they normally do before they even make the appointment. So if his schedule allows it, he should be there and he would be in the chair seat.
So do we have an opening on the NRC now, or is it filled?
So technically, Commissioner Dave Kozad's term is expired. Now, statute allows for him to continue to serve in his role until he is either reappointed or a substitute or placement appointment is made. Nobody, to my knowledge, has really heard about what the governors think in terms of Commissioner Kozad's seat. So technically, there's a vacancy. He can continue to serve until that vacancy is filled.
Well, as you well know, Justin, there's going to be a lot of eyes on this, as there have been on the commission in general lately. Sportsmen and women across Michigan, I don't want to say universally because that would be an overstatement, but there is a concern that the NRC maybe hasn't been our friend lately. So I'm speaking for myself. We'll be keeping a close eye on this one, as I'm sure you will be at MUCC as well.
Always.
Always. And that's why I know, Justin Tomei, I can give you a call anytime, and I appreciate it, buddy.
No problem, Mike.
Justin Tomei of MUCC, the website MUCC.org, MUCC.org. I would strongly encourage you to join that organization. There's strength in numbers. That's why MUCC wants as many members as possible. When they go to the legislature and say, hey, we've got X number of members, it gives them more clout. And don't we want a group that supports and defends hunting and angling? Don't we want that group to have clout? MUCC.org. When we come back, this week's Ask Avery question right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Holland on WHTC. That's 1450 AM and 99.7 FM. You can hear us in Ludington, News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN. And you can hear us on the east side of the state in Port Huron, WPHM 1380 AM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. Now, you know this by now, but the way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. Send me your questions. Maybe it's something you want me to answer directly or something you want me to pass along. The best way to get those questions to me is to send me an email, mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. That's mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Will Mayhew of Seabwing slipped one in, though. He slipped one by me by sending me a Facebook message. So that does work, too, but it's not the preferred method. Will says, hey, Mike, glad to see you're back up and doing well. And he's referring to a little medical situation I had last fall. Thank you. I appreciate that. He says, I'm wondering if there's any plans for a follow-up segment on the 41 Great Lakes Wildcat round from John Up in Adrian, Michigan. That round is really catching some attention, and I'm curious how the season went for them, being a homegrown Michigan product. I agree, Will. I think that's a great question. I first learned of this 41 Great Lakes. Actually, I learned about it through Gabe VanWormer, who was with us earlier in the hour. John Up is the guy behind this, and he's with us now on the phone line. John, welcome back. How have you been?
Good. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you having me.
Well, listen, always a pleasure, and I appreciate Will asking this question, so I'm going to ask you, how is it going? How was your season?
It was really good. I think between everybody, total, I think we're around 600 whitetails.
Wow.
That were taken. About a half a dozen pigs. You know, there's been a lot of stuff taken. Some of it's beyond even, me knowing what's been taken and what hasn't, but it's gotten that big that it's getting hard to control the volume of information. So,
well, and along that line, you say it's gotten that big, and I had asked you this question off air a couple of weeks ago. So, John, are there plans then? Because right now you're a Wildcat round. You guys are doing this kind of, off on the side a little bit. Are there plans to take this mainstream, to somehow get this to the big cartridge, the big bullet ammo manufacturers?
Well, they're all aware of us. They're watching what we're doing. There's, negotiations going on. But in the interim, by probably early summer, we'll have small batch custom loads on the shelves, commercially available, from Steinel Ammunition in Twinsburg, Ohio. There's also a couple of other Michigan ammunition manufacturers that are interested in loading for us as well. But right now, the primary goal is to get 100,000 pieces of head stamp brass, and we're in the middle of negotiating that with a local contractor here in Jackson. Other than the Ohio connection, it's going to be a pure Michigan project. But Steinel Ammunition has been with us since the very beginning, and so that's who we're going to primarily use initially. I won't rule out larger commercial entities getting involved because they've been in contact with me, It's all a matter of negotiation
Sure.
and how and where things fall in line.
So where did this concept for the 41 Great Lakes come up, and why is it proving to be so popular with the folks who are using it?
Well, I first conceived of it, I think, around 2018 or 17. I started mathematical modeling this cartridge and about a half a dozen other potential straight walls. And in the end, this cartridge proved to be almost mathematically perfect. And so then I took it to my business partner, Larry Miller, and I showed it to him, and he said, well, let's have a go at it and see what we can do. And we really did it for our grandkids. But then when we started shooting it and we got, rifles chambered in it, we realized just how good it was. And we're like, well, let's try and share it with the entire Midwest if we can. I'll confess, I think we were probably pretty naive when we first started it as to, how it was going to lay out and what was going to happen. And the popularity gained so quickly that it's been difficult to control. But we've got a lot of systems in place with all of our production partners. We've got half a dozen gunsmiths throughout the Midwest that do our custom conversions for us. And Douglas Barrels is who we use for the custom barrel maker. And there's really no limit to what you can spend if you want, or you can spend as little as $630 to have a short action, bolt action rifle converted. Obsidian Rifle Works in Kalamazoo is building AR uppers and a custom Remington 700 bolt gun as well.
John, listen, I got to let you go, but I appreciate the update. And it's that growth, that rapid growth that got my attention real quick. Where will we find you online?
Well, we're still just on Facebook. The website will be up probably in the next 2 months.
We'll keep an eye out for that. John Up of River Raisen Ballistics, the folks who came up with the 41 Great Lakes. It's a straight-walled cartridge. You're going to hear a lot more about this one. And it comes right here in Michigan. Thank you, Will Mayhew, for bringing that up. And thank you, Security Credit Union, for making each week's Ask Avery segment possible.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by J Sporting Goods, the Yider Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Primal Outdoors, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Well, thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to our number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show right here in the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network. As I look at the rundown for this week, some shows, not some, most shows end up having somewhat of a theme, even if I don't intentionally set them up that way. In this week's show, I feel like a lot of it has been talking with people who are movers and shakers in the outdoor scene here in Michigan. Well, my guest this hour is certainly one of the big dogs in this whole arena. His name is Mark Martin. Think about this. Mark Martin is a member of the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. He first came to my attention, I think it was Fred Trost. I saw him fishing the Muskegon Channel after dark. This is how he became known to most people, I think, in our state, most anglers. He was a guide on the Muskegon Channel and Muskegon Lake, targeting trophy walleye after dark. He was so good at it that as you go back and look at the records, it was Mark Martin and his customers that caused the DNR to raise the master angler walleye limit from 9 pounds and then to 10 pounds and 11 pounds because Mark's clients were catching so many big fish out of the Muskegon Channel after dark. So this thing comes along called the Professional Walleye Trail, or whatever the name was for it back then. PWT, whatever it was. But it was the first national walleye tournament trail. And Mark got involved in that. And people said, well, yeah, this Mark Martin guy, he's a good stick. But he can only catch fish from those waters after dark. Well, Mark proved that wasn't really the case. And how did he prove it? By winning the first national walleye championship ever. Mark Martin was the champion, the winner of that event. So that kind of shut the naysayers up. And that's been a long time now. And ever since then, Mark has continued, these days not so much as a tournament angler, but more as an educator. And that's one of the reasons why I love having him on the show, because he does not hesitate to share his knowledge and information. And as you can tell, he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Mark, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Mike. I appreciate it. I love sharing my knowledge with your listeners, and I know it helps because your listeners tell me about it, either in emails or when I see them at shows and phone calls. So you reach a lot of people, Mike, with your show, and I appreciate being on and adding to it.
Well, you are a welcome addition to the show for sure. And speaking of things that are welcome, usually the past few years when you and I have talked about this time of year, we've been crying about the lack of ice. Well, that's not the case this year, is it?
No. We got ice, and I'm just now going to go pick up the plaques for the first ice school for the winners, whoever they may be, at Saginaw. And Saginaw, boy, that came on real fast. This is the earliest I've seen ice on Saginaw in decades.
Yeah, it's been a while. So did you do earlier schools already, Mark?
Well, tried the early one in Houghton. That didn't go up because everybody was a little bit tentative and didn't let me advertise it at September 1st because, we might not have ice. We might. Then when they thought we'd have ice, okay, well, let's go. But, now people realize that we got to advertise in September. But, no, we'll get Saginaw in, and the next one will be Mullet Lake, and that's going too. So, and they got a lot of ice up there, and they're fishing there too, which is kind of unusual already.
Oh, that's great to hear. And as I've recommended to you before, I think another great addition to your fishing vacation schools would be the late season open water troll. And I'm talking December, which you can almost always count on Saginaw Bay or maybe Lake Erie. I'd like to see you guys add that too.
Well, ever since we talked about it, my pro staff heard us talking on the radio, immediately called me and said, hey, if we don't have ice, let's do that this year. So yeah, you struck a chord, and there's a bunch of other people that have talked to me about it too.
Well, again, it's a moot point for this year because the ice conditions on Saginaw Bay, I mean, they're really tightening up. They're getting really good out there. I'll say my usual caveat. For anglers coming in from outside of the area who are not familiar with Saginaw Bay, follow the locals out or hire one of the guides to follow them out because she can be an interesting body of water, but the guys you're working with, Mark, are all top-notch.
Yeah, they got a lot of history behind every one of them, and all it takes is the wind to blow from one side of their face just to get a breeze on the other, and they're on the phone with me going, hey, we got to send somebody out over to this crack or that one, and they're pretty efficient on knowing the conditions and what can happen if a wind shift picks up. So I rely on them, for their knowledge of fishing too. They without them, my guys are just as important as I am to this fishing school. We're out there to get people on the ice and off the ice safely and actually catch fish while we're doing it. So, I got the best of both worlds with, the knowledgeable people both ways.
Tell me the whole premise behind the Fishing Vacation School concept. How did this all come about, and what's the ultimate goal?
Well, it came about, 36, 7 years ago.
No,
yeah.
That's impossible.
No. Well, it was Gary Roach and Al Linder that started it over on Winnipegosh in Minnesota, and I just happened to be a partner of Gary Roach, and he goes, "Hey, you want to come over and join it? We're going to have a bunch of outdoor writers, and we need your expertise of ice fishing, and come on over and join us, Mark." And I said, "Hey, that sounds like a fun time," and been doing it ever since. And it got, we were together for quite a while, and they both said, "Hey, we got too much on our plate now. Mark, you want to take this? We know that it's in good hands. You can take it back to Michigan or wherever you want to take it and teach people how to catch fish and how to do it safely."
I love how you just kind of calmly work into the fact, I used to be a partner with Gary Roach, one of the best walleye anglers ever to live. Yeah, I just happened to be Gary's partner.
Yeah, he's a special guy, and he's 88 years old and still almost fishing every day, whether it's ice fishing or open water. He hunted this year and got a giant whitetail buck up in Saskatchewan. He just he's a tough old geezer.
I remember fishing with him on the Tittabawassee River, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a guy really fish finesse. He was casting 1/8-ounce jigs, which to me at the time were like, that was just crazy. But I watched him cast and bounce those things off the bottom and retrieve them and catch fish after fish after fish, and I was in awe. And he just sat there, just smiling, talking through the whole thing, telling me what he was doing. It was just a wonderful experience.
I could see it. I even though I wasn't with you, I've been with him many times, and he was one of the best mentors I ever had, and we never talked fishing. I just watched him and listened to him and gained the knowledge that he had, and it was likewise. I mean, he would actually compliment me sometimes and go, "God, I didn't know that, Mark." I mean, geez, I thought he's 20 years older than me, and I was actually adding to his knowledge, but he was more than adding to my knowledge.
Isn't that the thing about fishing? Is you can be darn good, but you can never master it. You can always get better.
No, I that's what I tell everybody. I learn from a student, and they'll learn from us, but every time out, everyone talk privately. They all tell me how much they've learned from students, and just by doing it over and over again, they've figured out better ways to refine it, the methods and techniques that we use.
Mark, hang tight. You know how this works. We've got to take a break. We're talking with Mark Martin, Michigan's Mr. Walleye. His two websites I would encourage you to check out, markmartins.net, and fishingvacationschool.com. When we come back after the break, I will ask Mark if he actually has any more openings for the Saginaw Bay School. And this is something that, the last several years he hasn't been able to run, or haven't been able to run with confidence, at least. Well, I'm not going to say that, because he wouldn't do it if he wasn't confident. Let's just say the ice conditions this year are much more favorable for his fishing vacation school on Saginaw Bay. Again, the website's markmartins.net and fishingvacationschool.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with the man himself, Mark Martin. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. And you can hear us in Taos on WIOS 1480 AM 106.9 FM. In fact, you can hear us twice each week on WIOS in Taos, and I appreciate that very much. Talking now with Michigan's Mr. Walleye, Mark Martin. His website are markmartins.net, fishingvacationschool.com. Mark, if you had a choice this time of year, would you rather be on big water like Saginaw Bay, or would you rather be on a smaller inland lake? What's your preference?
Oh, it don't matter to me. People ask me all the time, where's your favorite place to fish? And I always tell them right where I am right now.
Yeah,
because,
I get it.
And because I know how to take a hydrotopographical map. I know what time of year it is, and I know more than likely where the fish should be. And I go out there and I try to hit all these spots on the hydrotopographical map with my GPS. And eventually you might have to only go 5 places or 6. You're going to have fish if you're looking in the right areas on any body of water, and you can break it down to, is it a lake, river, or reservoir? And in those cases, where the fish should be in those type of environments. But no, I love going to Saginaw because I know what to expect. The last time we were there with the school, we were 14 miles out, and we had a bunch of guys and gals, and this is the last day we got out that far, and we had to quit at noon. We had to quit really at 10:30 because everybody caught their limit already, and we had 7 fish over 10 pounds and 1 over 14.
Wow!
Now that was exactly, even Brandon Stanton, who is probably one of the premier guys out there on the bay, and so Andrew Hendrickson was with too. He's another premier guide. He just they said this is the best fishing they ever seen, so that's what it could be like with this time when we go. It could be just phenomenal.
Do you still have openings for that Saginaw Bay school?
Yes, we do. It's going to start this Sunday, and if anybody wants to, they better call me on my cell phone, 231-740-6427. And just tell me they want to come, and we'll make sure there's a place for them, because I want to teach as many people as possible.
So how does this work? Do you folks all stay in the same hotel? I mean, is it or do you just meet up there in the morning at where, Linwood Beach, or what are the logistics?
Yeah. We're on Sunday afternoon at noon. Everybody brings their machines to Linwood Beach Marina. We put them in line around the condo, get them ready for Monday, do a seminar, and then after we do a seminar right there at Linwood Beach, we finish up the seminar at Frank's Great Outdoors.
Do you have to have a sled, or could you use a quad?
You can use a quad too, whatever machine you want. We kind of refrain away from, Argos or side by sides right now, because the ice is plenty safe for 4-wheelers and snowmobiles, but it's a little tenuous for, a little heavier, vehicles like that.
What if somebody doesn't have their own sled or a quad to get out there, but they still want to be a part of this school? Is there a way to do that?
Yes, my pro staff, they help you out. For $50 a day out and back, they'll haul you and your sled and your equipment out there, help you set it up, and they'll be around you all the time anyhow. And then the other thing is, if you want to go the super deluxe way, pay $125 a day, sit right next to somebody like me all day long, and you got a coach rubbing elbows with you, telling you to do this, do that. Hey, hey, there's a fish coming in right now. Get ready, do this. And boom, and you get it.
That sounds like the way to go to me. I want to sit right there, and I want to sit right next to Mark Martin, and we're looking at the same electronics, the same holes, and have you describe to me what's going on. I mean, you talk about an on-the-water seminar. That's it right there.
That's possible. You just got to come to the school, and, you know, one of these days we're going to get you out there, and you're going to sit there next to me, and I'm going to have you pulling fish in. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, speaking of electronics, the electronics you guys use for ice fishing these days are crazy.
Oh, there's the forward-facing sonar, the side scan. It is. And all my guys, they use it. Some of them bring all that stuff and they show the students how to use it. And hey, a lot of students bring it because they got it for Christmas and don't know how to use it. So we take it and just help them set it up, put it down, and help them be, very experienced anglers on Wednesday. When they leave that, they can go do this on their own or show their friends.
So after this Saginaw Bay School, you said there's one coming up, what, on Higgins, you said?
Mullet.
Okay.
Mullet, yeah. That's going to be fun.
How so? How will that be? How will that be different than Saginaw Bay, other than the fact that it's an inland lake?
Well, it's deep. We could be fit. We've caught walleyes at 80 feet of water consistently before out there, and we get burbot, we get trout, we get occasional sturgeon, northern pike, whitefish, tullabies. I mean, there's a lot of potpourri going. Great big huge perch. And we haven't done that for a couple of years. And so we're looking forward to it.
Do you ever spend any time anymore night fishing on the Muskegon Channel?
Yeah, I do a little bit in the, here and there. When I get the time, a lot of times I got so much else going that I don't have time. I want to have the time, but I don't have it. But when I do go, I have fun. And they all said, "Oh, it was terrible last year." I thought it was pretty darn good out there on Muskegon. It wasn't any worse than it always been. You just had to change up, and maybe where you were fishing, how you were fishing, how fast you were fishing at night, how slow you were fishing. You had to get all them details down. I wish I still guided at night. I could help people a lot more. But it's a fun thing. You never know how big the next little tick on your line's going to be.
I will never forget a night out there with you, with my dad when he was still around, because that was such a special treat to him. He just thought that was the greatest thing in the world. And to spend that night out there with you and my dad in the middle of the night, slowly trolling along Muskegon Lake and Muskegon Channel, and you never know if the next tick is going to be a double-digit fish. It's just a magical place that I don't want to say that you developed, but you certainly learned how to capitalize on it.
Yeah, I started when I was 3 years old with my grandpa and dad, and the first few fish that came over the side of the boat when I was that young scared the crap out of me. And all I could remember is my dad and grandpa going, "Stay still, Mike, don't move. There's hooks flying all over." like they're dropping bombs or something.
Back in those good old days, and I think the good old days of walleye fishing are actually today, but back then, what was the biggest fish, fishing with your dad and grandpa, you ever saw come over the gunnels of the boat?
My grandpa, it's still to this day, it was the biggest walleye that I've ever seen. It was he had a yardstick on his, screwed down to a bench seat. And that, when we laid it on that bench seat, it was just a tick over 36 inches long. It was November. It was snowing. And he just caught this fish on his homemade rapala, basically. and I know that fish was over 18 pounds, and it was bleeding so bad we couldn't put it back in. And this is my grandpa's rules. If you can't keep your fish alive, you got to row the boat the rest of the night. Guess what? We went home. Rules.
Yeah, Grandpa's boat, Grandpa's rules.
That's right. Well, we'll go home now.
Did you guys ever put that fish on a scale?
No, we didn't. I talked to my grandpa. I said, "Come on, Grandpa, we can stop at Ken and B's on the way home and put it on the scale. They got to be open." And we went by, and for some reason they were closed. And he never had the gumption. He never cared. He just was out there having fun. And we only caught, and that's the thing is, he preached to us, if we killed a fish, you had to stop fishing. You only got to keep one fish a night. This is when I'm, just a little kid, and he had that kind of conservation mind.
I was just thinking that he was a conservationist well ahead of his time.
Right, and he kind of knew that fishery could be hurt. He had done it. I don't know. I never did ask Grandpa how long he had been doing it, but I assumed he was doing it ever since he had a boat.
Yeah.
So that must have been a long time. But I said to, but that was the biggest one I see come over the gunnel, and at the same time, I asked my dad. I said, "Hey, Dad, is that the biggest one Grandpa ever caught?" He goes, "No, Mark." He said he's caught a few of them that were bigger than that.
Wow.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah,
Mark,
yeah.
I'm going to let you go. I'm out of time, and our phone connection, our cell connection is kind of up and down and up and down. So I'm going to let you go. Good luck on the vacation school at Saginaw Bay. The website markmartins.net and fishingvacationschool.com, and you and I will talk again soon. All right?
Okay, Mike. Take care, and we'll talk to you sometime shortly.
I'll look forward to it. Mark Martin, Michigan's Mr. Walleye. The websites, two of them, markmartins.net and fishingvacationschool.com. We'll take a break. Come back with more right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Traverse City on WTCM 580 AM. You can hear us in Manistee on WTIQ 1490 AM 95.3 FM. And you can hear us in Saginaw, WSGW 790 AM 100.5 FM. I am in the studios of WSGW right now. I was reminded that last show, was the 20th anniversary of recording this show here in the studios of WSGW. Now, the show has been on much longer than that. I mean, closer to 30-plus years, but 20 years working out of the same building. How cool is that? Jonathan Dent with me this week, doing a wonderful job, as always. Young John is a very impressive guy, and I look forward to many years working with you, John, unless you, leave, just take off and go somewhere, because I'm not going anywhere. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Hey, look, I realize you're not worried about your landscaping right now because your landscaping right now is frozen. It's not doing anything. Maybe you got some snow removal you'd like to worry about, but let's talk about springtime. I don't think it's too early. I mean, for some things it's too early, right? But not for getting on the schedule at Reader Landscaping. If you've got a project you want to do this spring, get in touch with them now. Get on their schedule so you can get to it in a timely manner this spring. Their website is readerlandscaping.com. That's readerlandscaping.com. So what's going on right now? It is cold, right? It is really cold. Good old-fashioned Michigan winter, aside from the snow, although I hear the west side of the state, and forgive me for not knowing this personally, but lake effect snow, right? Here on my side of the state, my side, the east side, I own this side. We haven't had, we've had some good snows, but it's been the cold. It hasn't been the snow. It has definitely been the cold. I mean, really cold. But that's good. It makes for good ice. You get out ice fishing, you can take advantage of that, enjoy that. Just because it's winter doesn't mean there's nothing to do, right? You've got ice fishing, you've got snowmobiling, you've got rabbit hunting, you've got predator hunting. A lot of ways to enjoy the outdoors. Have you heard, if you were listening to the show, you know this, but if you're just tuning in now, you might not. Our governor appointed six-time Flint Congressman Dan Kildee to be chairman of the Natural Resources Commission. This gets a lot of attention because the NRC in general has been getting a lot of attention lately. The NRC has made some decisions that many outdoors men and women across the state question, are they really on our side? I believe they are on our side, but I think they've made some really questionable decisions lately. So it's interesting. At first blush, when I see, okay, our governor, who is a politician, appointing a six-time congressman, who is obviously a politician, to chair the NRC, the overseeing group of hunting and fishing in Michigan. My hope is that Dan Kildee will come in and use his people skills, because, look, you don't survive as a six-time congressman without having people skills, that he will use those skills to try to manage people and the commission and get things done in a positive manner rather than relying on his extensive background as a wildlife biologist, because he's not. So we will be, we being me and everybody in the state who has a vested interest, will be keeping a close eye on this. He will likely chair the next meeting coming up in February. Speaking of things coming up, tickets are now on sale for our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. Trinity Monitor, my church, again, my church, I own it, the church of which I am a member, and our associated little Lutheran school does a great job. This is a fundraiser. This is our 8th annual fundraiser that we've done. It has grown tremendously. This year's event is Saturday, March 1st at the Great Hall in Midland. Tickets are now on sale. If you go to my Facebook page, I have posted a flyer there with directions and a QR code on how to best get those tickets. I mean, I'm going to give you the website, but it's very cumbersome. one.bidpal.net, one.bidpal.net/Trinity Monitor Dinner Auction 2025. It's got to be a better way to get there. We've got hunts we're giving away, auctioning off. Fishing trips we're auctioning off. A lot of guns, 50-50, a great meal. This is Saturday, March 1st. We will sell out. This is something we've been doing for 8 years now, and I think we've sold out every event. Would love to have you there. Make sure you get your tickets. What else? By the time you hear this show, we will know officially who the 3 Pure Michigan Hunt winners are. I am one of them. Hopefully you might be one of the other 2. I say that jokingly, but sometime I am going to win the Pure Michigan Hunt. Now, because I talk about it so much, when I do win, there will be people complaining about it, but I will be willing to deal with that backlash. I will gladly take the Pure Michigan Hunt. I will take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner. Dave, who could not, he's not very good at retirement. So he went back to work, and he's cooking part-time for a restaurant in Standish. And I suspect he'll have a recipe for us. That's coming up as we wrap up this week's Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. My name is Mike Avery. Last week on the show, my good friend, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner, had a venison puttanesca recipe for us. Well, I went looking for that one, and I found it. I already had it online on my YouTube channel. So I posted that venison puttanesca on my Facebook page, and then I put Dave's recipe right above it. So you could read the recipe, and then you could watch Dave do it on video. Very, very cool. And Dave is with us now once again. David, I don't know if you had a chance to see that or if it brought back memories, but I thought that was great.
You're right. I showed everybody at work. They wanted to see it, and they were pretty impressed. A lot of them are not old enough to remember the TV.
What do you mean at work? I thought you retired.
Oh, sure. No, I work 3 days a week up to King's Dish in Standish. I just had to get back in the kitchen. I just couldn't take it.
So you tell me you failed at retirement?
Yeah, I did. Miserably.
Miserably. How's that gig working out for you? And I would expect that you're a real draw.
I think so. That's what Kevin, the owner, I think I've become a cash cow.
Well, that's a good thing to be. It's job security.
It's pretty busy, and I've been doing a lot of specials. And this week I got gator coming up, and we had red stag last week. Oh, man.
I can tell from the sound of your voice that you really enjoy, again, being back in that kitchen again.
It's wonderful, Michael. I'll tell you what. I went through a withdrawal heavily, and after doing it for 35 years, and then being home every night and just sitting around, and I just, I was bored.
Well, I'm happy for you. Listen, we got 4 minutes yet? Can you get a recipe done in 4 minutes?
Sure. This, venison steak Dijon is what we're going to be doing today, and it's definitely one of my favorites. I love sauces with Dijon mustard. I made bobcat and coyote with this, the very same sauce for your wild game dinners. So you need about 8 ounces of trimmed venison per person, a medium onion diced fine, 2 shallots diced fine, 2, 3, 4 cloves of garlic, however much you like. I like a lot of garlic, so I'm going to go to 3 to the 4 for myself. 12-ounce packages of thin sliced mushrooms, a couple ounces of Jack Daniels or Jim Beam, any kind of a bourbon, because it leaves in a little bit of a sweeter flavor. 3 ounces of white wine, a couple ounces of heavy cream, a jar of beef gravy. However much Dijon mustard you like, get a good one. Don't get a cheap imitation. About 2 to 3 tablespoons would be fine, and a lot of fresh ground black pepper. So what you're going to take and sprinkle black pepper, grind black pepper over the steaks, and then between 2 sheets of plastic wrap, you're going to take a meat mallet and pound down the meat so it's going to be nice and tender. And then a real nice hot saute pan, you're going to brown the meat on both sides, remove while still very rare. And in the same pan, after you take the meat out, you're going to add the onions, the garlic, and the shallots. And you want to saute that over lower heat for just a few minutes, break the flavor loose, get the onions transparent so they're going to digest real good, So some people have a problem with onions. So you're going to flambe with Jack Daniels away from the stove hood. When the flames die down, return it to the high heat. Add the white wine. Reduce that down by about 3/4. Add the mushrooms, the beef gravy, the cream, the mustard, and grate some more pepper in there for your flavored likes. And then reduce it to thick and creamy. It might take a couple minutes over high heat. Stir it almost constantly. Add the meat back in just to warm it up. While you want to eat it rare to medium rare. Try not to overcook. And this is just a wonderful way to make a lot of different meats. I've made, like I said, coyote and bobcat and stuff for wild game dinners with it. We used to sell this at the restaurant with venison. People loved it.
It sounds wonderful. I do remember this one. And listen, could I maybe substitute Maker's Mark for Jack Daniels?
Absolutely.
Okay, then I'm in.
Any good bourbon. I know you're a
I'm a Maker's guy. David,
That's
always
great.
a pleasure. I am so happy for you to get back in the kitchen. I was talking to my brother-in-law and sister-in-law the other day, and I said, we've got to get up and visit Dave's restaurant and have you cook a meal for us again. That would be outstanding.
Let me know when you're coming, and I'll get some crawdaddy.
Oh, well, yes, we will definitely be there. David, always a pleasure. Good luck to you. We'll talk again next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, Michael. Everybody, be safe and sane out there this week.
And be warm. Wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show. When he mentioned the crawdaddies, it's like, okay, I'm in. Crawdaddies are crayfish, and they are like the best thing I have ever tasted in my life. So if we can go to Dave's restaurant, it's not Dave's restaurant. It's like when I say my church or my side of the state. It's not Dave's restaurant, but he's cooking there. That would be wonderful. My name is Mike Avery. The website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com. That's MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. I want to know what's on your mind. If you have a question for the Ask Avery segment, email that to me at Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Let me know if there's a topic you'd like to hear me talk about. You can make a suggestion. Let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. Send me your pictures. Love to see your pictures of you in the woods, on the ice, wherever. Send them to me, Mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. Stay warm. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time right here on Outdoor Magazine.